And welcome to the Free Play Arcade podcast. I am Chris Delp, the community liaison of Free Play Arcade. I'm joined, as always, by Corey Hayden, the CEO, and the Tubin World Champion, actually.
That
nice.
Is still my title.
Wow.
Until someone else runs a tournament
I
on
had
it.
no idea.
And Pokemon Go expert Richard Tregilgas,
Nice.
also COO. And these are my coworkers. We work at Free Play Arcade in Richardson, Denton, and Arlington. And we are sponsored today by Just Water, Jaden Smith's Just Water company. This is Just Water and not just coffee that I filled in my Just Water bottle.
What Google really knows about me is that I am the preeminent expert on Just Water's relationship with Jaden Smith.
Nice.
Because every time I do one of these podcasts, I search Just Water and it autofills like Jaden Smith. Jaden Smith selling stocks. Jaden Smith, and it's so yeah. Jaden Smith does still own some part of Just Water. Maybe it's like some sort of...
I'm just ready for the part where we Google image it and our silly podcast pops up.
Nice.
Well, I wonder though, like if anyone in our arcades knew that Jaden Smith had anything to do with Just Water.
I had no idea until you brought it up on this podcast.
Can we put his face on some of the advertising?
Right.
I mean,
like,
Just Water.
Well, I mean, apparently Will Smith, it's kind of like becoming a success, this water, and apparently Will Smith's getting more and more involved because he's like, whoa, I didn't know this was going to be like for a real thing. He probably just like gave his son a couple $1 million to go blow on some water company, and now it's actually working. So,
Richard, are you suggesting we spend like ad revenue to buy portions of the ads for Just
Absolutely.
Water?
No. You know, they actually won a design award recently, the 2017 Beasley Design Awards for product packaging with their...
Named after the U.S. men's national team soccer player Michael Beasley?
Yes, of course.
I mean, of course. It makes as much sense as Just Water, brought to you by Jaden Smith, sponsoring this podcast, which is not just coffee that I filled out of the Keurig and put in this just cardboard water bottle.
Not at all.
So, just really quick, I want to give a shout to Business Insider for the greatest title of an article I've ever seen. Jaden Smith wants to be the Elon Musk of bottled water.
Whoa. Well, you know...
That quote gets better as time goes along.
Right.
There's not a lot of name recognition in the bottled water game. So, you know, I think he's got a real shot.
All right. So we're jumping in here. This podcast is we're going to do some event kind of wrap-ups, talk about some events that we've had recently. We'll probably only get through the Vaporwave event and the 25-hour charity podcast. But that's what we're here to talk about today.
Not if we stall well enough.
Right. If we go super, super fast, we can maybe get through another event. But once again, as always, guys, if you're listening to this, click subscribe. It doesn't matter what service you are. They probably have some way to subscribe to our channel. Go ahead and do that if you like what you're hearing. So we're going to jump right in. We're going in reverse chronological order. We're going to hit the Free Play Denton Vaporwave party. So really quick, I mean... I'll kind of jump into what I think it is, but after having had me pitch this party, do this party, Chris, what do you think Vaporwave is?
A enigmatic type of music that I have no idea. No, it was reminiscent of the Retrowave party we did.
Right, so we did these two monster successful Retrowave parties, and I kind of thought, you know, Denton's a totally different vibe from all our other arcades. Mm-hmm. It needs its own party. And the other thing about those Retrowave parties is we had like 1,000 people show up to both. Mm-hmm. If you've ever been to our Denton location, having 1,000 people try to show up now, I mean, it was colossal at Richardson too. There was a line like into the neighborhoods and a mile away.
Yeah, they're probably still there.
Right. And then
or Harbor Freight, the late Harbor Freight, just encircled by Free Play.
Well,
Richardson.
The people from the parking lot sale joined the line. They had no idea what was going on.
It's kind of self-continuing now. There's children being born in the line. But yeah, so those two parties were huge, and it's kind of... I was kind of tired of them too. Like, I mean, I loved them. They were amazing, but there's no reason to do 3 exact same parties. Those two were enough. That was kind of a more summer theme. We're coming into fall. I wanted to do a Vaporwave thing. And to be honest, I kind of knew what Vaporwave is at the time. And that's what's really cool, I think, about this weird Vaporwave concept. No one really knows what it is. So Vaporwave, I guess, is a ironic music style, is how it's defined in Wikipedia. But I think that that's wrong. I think Vaporwave is more like... trying to capture this nostalgia that you would feel if you're walking through the mall in the 90s, but also make it good music or attempt to make it good music. So I think that's kind of what the Vaporwave people are trying to do. And there's a ton of actually really talented artists going through these extreme like processes to make this music, which is electronic, but a little bit more like, it's like dancing elevator music. If you could ever conceive of that, it's like taking elevator music and trying to make people dance to it. And obviously some of the songs work out really, really well. And that's the great thing about being able to program your own party. We got to pick like the absolute top tier Vaporwave stuff that's ever been released. Know that most of the people there probably haven't heard much of it, if any of it. And really curate the evening through like their feelings, their vibe. So that was kind of the concept, and it was weird because Vaporwave is known for like injecting random Japanese characters into their titles. It's supposed to be like this connection because in Japan, it's like this nostalgia for Japan in the way like they still have arcades, they still have kind of shopping malls, they have big cities, so it makes a lot more sense there. Here in the United States, especially in like Texas, our malls are dying as fast as they possibly, and that's generally happening in a lot of places. But our malls. We used to have like 35 major malls in DFW.
I believe it.
And they're still trying to figure out what the heck is going to happen to these malls. I mean, we
have 3 to 5 major malls,
housing complexes.
Right. Yeah. These ultra high end malls are struggling to survive. And there's like one mall, North Park Mall in Dallas, that will maybe make it through what I'm just calling just right now the mall wars, which it's not really the mall wars, it's just mass suicide.
I like that. I think that we should just go with that as a theme.
Right. So, but you know, I remember as a teenager,
mall wars.
Mall wars. Well, we did do the Mall Madness World Championships recently, so we're already kind of in theme. But yeah, so like I really liked the mall when I was a kid. I thought it was really neat, and the concept of like my kids growing up without knowing what a mall is and ordering everything off Amazon is kind of sad.
Am I the only one that I will go to Free Play Richardson on occasion, drive in through the back entrance, the back area, and I'll see, because it's on the old parking lot, old area that used to be Richardson Square Mall.
Right.
And there's the Sears building there, which is still in business.
For now. For like the next 5 minutes.
For now.
And I still don't know what Sears does, even though it's been around my entire life.
What is it, $19 million in bonuses?
For their executives
this year?
They got to pay them something through bankruptcy.
I mean, yeah, bankruptcy is a very difficult process.
Those guys have to eat.
But every time I see that old mall artifice in just the Sears building, now there's a Target and there's a whole nother development and Free Play Richardson is over there. I feel like, you know, if I just walk in through those doors and take the right amount of turns and then turn a corner, I'll just be transported into the 1990s era Richardson Square Mall. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that has that delusion.
No, and if you walked into that Sears, it would feel pretty much like that. It would.
It does. I've been in there recently.
Yeah, you'd walk through there, and then you'd, instead of the entrance to where the old mall was, it just goes outside now, which is kind of sad. But you know, so that was kind of, I don't know, that was the premise there. We wanted to do something really cool, special for Denton. We also made it ticketed. So that we could control the exact amount of people showing up, because like I said earlier, those 2 events that we had at Richardson and Arlington that were our retrowave parties blew up. And Arlington is beautiful because you can have 500 people in there and it still feels like there's some space. But Richardson, you get that 250 in Richardson, feels tight. It's maybe the design, I don't know, but it definitely Arlington does a much better job eating people.
Yes. And Denton is the opposite.
Denton, you can have like 30, 40 people in there, and you're like, ooh, this is a little small. So
we always have a game at that point, but
right. Well, yeah, there's actually 97 or 102, I can't remember, play spots.
Right.
But people, it's the more people get in there, the more I like it. But also
plus 52 tax.
Right. You just can't be claustrophobic. Right, you got to be able to, squeeze past people.
You got to be used to like an old popular arcade. You got to get that Flynn. That is a Flynn's experience where you're kind of walking through the crowd, holding your drink above people as you walk through and stuff like that. It's awesome. So we did a Vaporwave event. We made it a glow party because we have these very expensive, very nice, cool glow fixtures. Yeah. So we had to do something with them. We made a glow party. You paid $9. You got admission to the party, which started at 11 p.m. on a Thursday.
Yes, that's 11 p.m. to 2 a.m.
So this was a weekday party, 11 p.m. till 2 a.m.
Dude, Thursday is probably like the best day to party, though. I mean, you're a college student. You don't have those Friday classes.
Well, and everyone said that for us going into Denton. And what we found out is, Like now it's starting to pick up, but like none of like early in the school year do these kids. It's when they get depressed or whatever's going on. Then Thursday's becoming like an epic day. But right at the beginning, I was like, I thought Thursday was supposed to be the day. Now we're kind of figuring that out. But yeah, we were able to sell out at an 11 p.m. Thursday party.
I was able to get some out-of-state travelers for the party.
Yeah, I mean, people. That's amazing. People had a really, really good time at this party. I mean, the music was programmed great. We did some really cool environmental programming. We changed the TVs to some Vaporwave type stuff.
Well, we put as many blacklight fixtures in there as we did for Arlington.
Yeah. So
that place glowed.
It was completely. You could have anything that was mildly reactive and it was going to glow, because this is in 35 or 3,300 square feet, the same that we use in 8,000 plus square feet. So it was very, very bright. Those blacklight fixtures are great. We're really lucky that we've kind of figured that all out. So that went really cool. We brought in 2 new games just for the event. Well, one was just for the event, for real, just for the event, controversially just for the event. And then one actually lives there. So we brought in our mild rethemed pinball, Denton Heat, which is a reskin of the old Hollywood Heat pinball. And if you've ever seen Hollywood Heat, you know why we reskinned it for Denton. It's basically a Hollywood Heat pinball wanted to be Miami Vice so hard. So it's got palm trees, it's got pink, it's got blue, it's got these light purples.
Little Corvette.
Yeah, it's got all these really, really ridiculous scenes. So we went ahead and had our artist, Josh Featherstone, he built a new back glass after a lot of work. I sent him like a few concept drawings and stuff, and it came out really cool. And if you've ever seen the original Hollywood Heat, you know why we had to replace the back glass. It's just the worst back glass I've ever seen on pinball. It makes me feel uncomfortable looking at it. So we've replaced that.
It does that. It really does.
Well, that's the thing. Like, abstractly, the original Hollywood Heat back glass is like, you're just kind of like, okay, fine. It's kind of, a little overly sexual for the women, and kind of the dude looks out of place. But the longer you look at it, the more just it feels weird.
Yeah.
So we had to get rid of that. So
Makes
that's
you
gone.
feel creepy.
It really does. The whole scene just feels awkward. So,
and you know what? I played it. The play field of that, spectacular. Loved it.
I know
it so much.
It's really unique. It's a cool game. And that's so what we found is, we've got all these really super top tier pinballs. Like you've got Medieval Madness and Attack from Mars all over the place at free plays. But then I kind of got used to playing those games, but I thought I needed more variety. So we've been kind of going through these Gottlieb mid to late 80s titles, and they did all this really crazy, neat, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And so this one has like a little mini play field to the left, a jump. It's really cool.
It does have a mini play field, but unlike some tables I've seen with that, for example, Family Guy and Free Play Arlington,
right,
that game gets lost in the mini play field, whereas you just can't lose the ball.
Right.
The mini play field in Hollywood Heat / Denton Heat,
right.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You play around with it for a few seconds. It's a reward for getting the ball up there, and then it drains, and then you're back to the normal play field. It's how that concept feels like it's supposed to be.
Yeah, actually, I think,
and that's where you trigger the multi-ball as well. It's a great design.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool game. I think it's certainly something that, like, Denton had such a stacked pinball lineup to bring a Denton Heat to it is really cool. And so then the other game we brought, in the very back room, we removed 2 games. Just for the event, and we brought in Cross Beats Rev, Sunrise, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And so that's a rhythm game. First rhythm game we've ever had on the floor, I think. I like to call like
really
Crazy Climber
yeah,
and stuff like that rhythm games, because you have to get into a rhythm. But this is a true kind of rhythm game. You're listening to the music, you're trying to time things. It's a touchscreen game. And it's really, really, really cool game. And we were able to source this one, and just the mere existence of this unit has caused some controversy online. And I've kind of like backed away, because I honestly have no idea about these rhythm games, and I know what we have is really, really cool.
People got crazy.
Yeah.
How do you feel with all that crazy?
Right. I mean, people were basically just saying like the experience you just had didn't happen, and I was just I was there. I was like, no, I mean, I don't know. Because like I'm not trying to get into the politics of the scene, these different importers that make different promises or say that different things are impossible. I wanted to stay away from that and just bring the best possible game there. And from what I understand, and from what I've played, and I've played the other versions of Cross Beats Rev Sunrise, this is the best I've ever played. This has the most songs. They're all unlocked by default. That kind of stuff. Some people have said some of that is impossible. I don't know. So
I can merely say it was incredibly popular at Free Play Denton, so much so that I never got a chance to play it.
It was a huge hit.
Popular.
It was a huge hit. It was cool because in Free Play Denton we had the little back room where we have like 10 or so games.
I did see it back there, but it was just under constant use.
And it filled the room with this different music too for the Vaporwave event. So like, I mean, conceptually it was really neat because the Vaporwave event, you got the pulsing Vaporwave, the relaxing chill wave, that kind of stuff. And then as you go to the VEC, you start hearing these weird Tokyo style sounds, and then you step through and there it is. A game that shouldn't even exist in the United States, that everyone says is impossible, is right there and you can play it. And people did. And it was a crushing, amazing hit. And that was fun. And what was extra fun but extra controversial, the next morning we took it out.
Yeah.
It was on the floor for like 3 hours.
And by the way, that was enough time for someone to just go insane on it. And I have videos of a person playing it and just experting everything on the hardest level. So
it's a really popular game in general. Like, people have been trying to find this game, trying to play it. Round one had it in America, but then I don't want to get into it, but they, there's different licensing fights still going on over this game. But yeah, so there's people in the world that are really good at this and are searching for it, which is one of the things we always like to find for free play. And it's of course one of Richard's favorite games. Certainly a favorite import.
A favorite game that does not fit the general free play genre, I would say. As far as music games, it's by far my favorite to play.
Yeah, and I actually it's really good. It's a really good game. And I was really, really impressed both by like how it did, how it survived, how people enjoyed it. That was all really cool. So we haven't figured out rhythm games yet, but we're going to try to, dabble our toes a little and eventually
It's just all about the mood, though. Right. I mean, it makes its own mood, right, and that kind of kills the vibe of the whole arcade. So we'll work on that, and hopefully at some point in the future, as we're still dealing with nostalgia, we'll be getting into that at some point.
I like the backroom solution for the moment.
That was pretty
great. Worked out.
Well, but one of the things I noticed,
the
soundproof
Vaporwave
boxes. We'll get into who knows what.
Yeah, I spent most of my time that night at Denton Heat and was enjoying the Vaporwave music throughout. So I was not interfered with at all by the massive crowd huddling around one rhythm game.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool experience. The event sold out on a Thursday night. That was awesome. Mm-hmm. We didn't know what to expect. We knew we'd put on a cool party. And one of the things that you have to do, especially when you're in a new place like Denton, because Denton's only still been open for like 3 or 4 months, you're still having to prove that you can throw good parties. And of course, the results from that, the love of that party was just off the charts. I mean, Glow, $9, you got a Glow kit plus admission to an arcade. What I really thought was funny though is how because we closed for an hour from 10 to 11, and how at about 9:30 the place is totally vacant, and then how at 1:30 it wasn't at all. It was mostly filled with people still on a Thursday night. That was beautiful, and that was, to me, it was like straight out of kind of that Tokyo style thing that can happen, and which I thought went really well with the Vaporwave party. It's kind of crossing genres, and it's all really weird because Vaporwave is weird. It's undefined. It's really, really strange, but it was a great event.
I believe arcades in Tokyo are required to close around midnight for the last train.
Really?
And I am 100% sure, because I was there overnight, that they will let you skirt the rules.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at someone posted that
I stayed overnight at an arcade that I'm sure I mentioned before, but I won't mention now.
Right. Well, because someone posted some photos of that one really, really cool arcade that has that interesting Hong Kong inspired bottom.
Yes. Brian Scott, who just moved from the Dallas area to Tokyo.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if we need a place to stay, he's got the hookup.
They have a sign that says some floors open 24 hours, others subject to some law. So I guess there is something there. I'm sure you can gamble all night if you want. I don't know.
Right.
Don't
need to go home for that.
I just want to walk across the water pit on those stones and, getting into the arcade.
Everyone who ever attacks us for not having our theming right needs to just be like, hey, ADA. Why do you, like, you can never really get away with that. And if you've ever looked at what's the really cool, I think it's in Santa Fe, New Mexico, or it might have a wolf in the name. Gosh, I'm spacing on it. Anyways, they build these really cool kind of things that are like experiences that you can go through. They'll have like black lights in some rooms, and you're like crawling through stuff. You'll open the fridge, all of a sudden it goes to another room, so you got to crawl through. I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me what
arcade escape room.
Right, pretty much. It's really cool. It's like they were struggling for so long, and now they're finally getting like some real mainstream success. Everyone loves them. People are traveling just to do this experience, and they launched new stuff. It's very, very cool what they're doing. They're just in like an old, like huge shopping center Walmart building, and it's very popular. I'll look it up. But so that was kind of even though you have to fill out like this 55-page waiver and stuff like that. So, but that was basically the Vaporwave party. Huge success. Loved it. The music did great. It really was like kind of proved how we're going to try to do events, I think, in Denton, which is sell tickets, have it on a night that wouldn't necessarily be super popular, that way we can ensure that everyone has the most fun, and we fill the arcade up in a time that it might not have already been filled up.
I have a request to add on to that. Continued with the face painting. Loved it. Right. I went crazy on the face paint.
It's Meow Wolf is what it's called.
Dalsum
it's in Santa
inspired.
Fe.
Bless you.
Right. So, wow, and they have more reviews than us. They have 6,000 Google reviews at a 4.7.
Wow.
We're only at like 1,800 on our... Well, if you combine all our locations, we'd be around 5,000, I think, but on Google. But yeah, so they're very popular. They finally, they started very, very small, and now they're really getting some funding, really getting big. So that's really cool. And it by all accounts is really cool. Last time I was in Santa Fe, I don't think that they were doing what they're doing now. But so like, for example, Friday, November 23rd at 5:30 p.m., they have queer space art therapy. Like that. I don't know what that is, but that is the kind of stuff they do. It's really,
road
really
trip,
right? It's supposed to be really cool. And I mean, as people who create things, it's really neat to see someone else out there just doing something just absurd and making it work.
That's awesome.
Richard, what did you first think of when you thought of the Vaporwave party?
When I first thought about it as a concept, honestly, the Denton Vaporwave party reminded me very much of, we had a happening just midnight rave that spontaneously popped up in the quad in college. Out of nowhere, full speaker system, full lighting gear. It lasted for 30 minutes and then was done. And it's just a pop-up party, and I love that concept.
That's absolutely what it felt like on the ground. And I kept reading it, seeing Vaporware, and thought I was getting into like an Ultra 64.
No, man, we're vaping.
And right. Oh my goodness, that's Quan or no Han would not miss out on that one. Somewhere he's just cursing us for not having the.
He heard about it. He showed up, and then he got kicked out of the sphere. All right, so I mean that was it. I've actually worked Vaporwave kind of into my music occasionally. There's a couple songs in there I really like, and what's really bizarre is like I was like, I really like this song, and I could tell there was a sample in the background. I was like, I wonder what they sampled, and it was some 1986 Rick Astley song or something.
Nice.
And I was like, I can see why I like it. I get it now.
I've only actually heard of one Rick Astley song. So.
This is a different one.
Okay.
So that was a Vaporwave. Now let's jump into the madness that was the charity event, the Extra Life charity 25 straight hours of gaming event.
Yes.
We did a whole podcast where we kind of went through our history with Extra Life, and I guess Richard, tell us kind of what we were gonna do.
Well, 25-hour charity event. Entire idea is that we play video games for 25 hours and raise money for Cook's Children's Hospital. We had a wide variety of programming, and the idea was kind of that let's take all of the regularly scheduled events that we do and condense them all into one crazy night. So we ask everyone who came to play and stay overnight to make a $25 donation, and all of those proceeds went to Extra Life and to our charities. And set up the stage. We set up streaming stations. We had multiple games. We had multiple competitions, world record competitions, world
everything
record runs, just everything that we do. Puzzle nights, Street Fighter, tournaments, just everything running. Plus pinball tournament. Plus your crazy Vice City run and all sorts of things going on.
Thanks again to Carbach Brewing for sponsoring that. So yeah, it was everything. It was everything free play, trying to cram it into 25 hours straight.
And we did well, but if you wanted to contribute to our donation, the link is still good. So donate.freeplayhof.com if you want to help top off our donation to Cook Children's as part of the Extra Life charity run.
Yeah, so Extra Life generally does it by years. So we have at least a month and some change to get additional donations.
Yeah, they like to do it all on the same day, all cruelly on daylight savings time. So you get the extra 25 hours if you go from 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. But that's more a strategy to get all the Twitch feeds going all in the same direction at the same time. You can definitely have your your Extra Life charity run at any day. Some people do. They'll have like a board game night.
Right. Yeah. And so what we did was the concept was you pay $25 to charity, nothing coming to free play, and you get to hang out with us for 25 hours. Mm-hmm. And then also free play matched that $25 from everyone who donated. So it was basically, if you show up, play games for 25 hours, you're giving $50 basically to charity, right. Earning $50 for charity. So it was really, really cool. We had the rep from Cook Children's come out at the beginning.
Yes, Aaron McDonald, thank you for coming out.
Just kind of give a nice talk about kind of what this money gets used for and everything, which is always great because, I doubt there's very many evil children's hospitals in the world, but because obviously these children, children's hospitals
evil children need love too,
right? So Cook Children's does a lot of amazing work, and it's really fun to be a part of this event. Just because it's a lot of fun just to do the event, but it's also really cool because at the end of the day, we're just raising money that helps sick children. How could you ever be how could that ever be a bad thing? So that's awesome.
It's one of the most feel-good events that we do. I think it's the most, and especially when you're at hour 22 and you have bonded with all these people that you spent all this time with, and hugs are given, and they really mean something, even though they were strangers maybe a day ago, or maybe you barely knew them because of events. You've just spent 22 or 24 straight hours doing what you love, doing it all for charity. It's a lot of fun.
Well, and the great thing about it too, I think, is when you're there that long, you get to start coming up with some really creative ways to have, because it's obviously a great environment. There's a ton of arcade games, tons of cool stuff going on. But for 25 straight hours, you have to come up with some really neat, interesting stuff. So I saw people having a big buck hunter sit down tournament, they were sitting down.
Yes.
Just crazy stuff like that in the total middle of the night, because you get to. That's the kind of thing you get to do. After hours at free play. So you did a pinball tournament. You had how many people show up for that?
30 something.
Yeah. And so
our biggest for one of those casual tournaments ever.
Yeah, and it was those pinball tournaments are getting really, really cool, really exciting. Everyone's starting to have a lot of fun.
Each time they're bigger and bigger.
And so concurrently, you also had the Third Strike event was happening.
Correct,
right?
the Jazzy Circuit Third Strike tournament, which was so successful that the organizer of the Jazzy Circuit asked me to taper down on the Jazzy Circuit tournaments because we are.
Well, yeah, I remember
just bludgeoning the entire circuit. All 6 of the top 6 competitors that will win trips to New York at this point would be from Texas. So we're in an effort to not destroy his tournament series. We're going to take December off.
Right. Well, I remember talking to, I guess Arthur was there, and he was trying to figure out how many people had signed up, and he was working his way through the brackets, and he was like, "Oh my god, this is gonna take like 10 hours." And I was like, "Cool." And then 8 hours later, he's like, "We're almost done." No, it was crazy. It was, a ton of participation. We gave Third Strike the Versus City for the first time, right?
Yes.
So, I always like that because people come out because the Third Strike is eventually getting its own Versus City at Arlington, and so they were kind of showing, yes, we want it, yes, we'll show up, yes, and so that's really neat. That's awesome.
I also sometimes these tournaments they run long if you don't have a ton of setups and there's a ton of people there. In this case, we were going to be there for 25 hours anyway, so it was just kind of baked in. I remember at towards the end, they were like, "Oh my goodness, that was a long Super Turbo tournament." As it ended at 5 in the morning or something, went an extra 2 hours longer than normal because it was so big. So we're here. We were going to be here. We needed the programming. It was perfect.
Well, and this was we had. After the Third Strike, we had to do kind of an audible to kind of get back on track schedule-wise on the Dallas Derby Devils with Windjammers.
Yes. Yeah. We had to do
cut that down to single elimination.
Single elimination and women's only, which is not a. I don't really like to do gender-specific tournaments, but it worked out that way.
We needed to cut the numbers down.
That's it, right? We did not have enough because they the Derby Devils volunteered their time as well, but their time, a lot of them are moms. They have other obligations.
25 hours,
right? They were going to be there for 4 hours,
right?
So, and we cut into it by about an hour and a half. So yeah, we needed to shorten that. Some of them actually did stick around for a little while longer, stayed into the Panda cast, chatted it up with Naomi and Allison got in there as well.
Yeah, it's all. The great thing is, and at the meantime, Vice City's still going.
Vice City went the whole time.
So my pitch was trying to do something really interesting to make sure that a sponsor got mentioned, and one of the easiest ways to sell is to sponsor a certain game for 25 straight hours. And hopefully, I don't know if my life will ever let me actually do this 25 straight hours again, but hopefully I can in the near future, so that I feel like that I could eventually sell that to a sponsor for a lot of money, and that could be its own side stream even. And that could probably just be a ton of baked in value for charity. That's what's really cool. So Vice City's still going on. And then y'all did 11 p.m. ish Tuesday night fights on Super Turbo. Is that right? Yeah, Super Turbo.
Yes. Yeah.
And in the meantime, you had, but just before that, or early in the day, you had Dylan Smith go ahead and wreck some world records.
Right, we started it off. While we were
3.
talking with Aaron from Cook Children's, Dylan Smith was breaking all the world records he could on the Neo Geo for about 3 hours. So he got 2 of them. I think it was Aero Fighters 2, and I don't remember the other one. It's been a good minute now, but I know he was really, really doing well on Magical Drop 3, and just basically anything he put in the machine. He's an incredibly talented player.
Was that Magical Drop 3 the one that they swapped the stream on him while?
No, that was Josh. Josh and his partner, I forget who he's playing with. I believe Chase.
Chase Cole, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so they were playing. It was one of Josh's games, but they were going for the 2-player record, and they just flicked it over to Third Strike casuals. Not even the tournament, just casuals.
Well, yeah, that was, and I showed up around then, and I see everyone just kind of stumbling around.
I mean, if you had seen Tristan's sweet handlebar mustache, you would have switched the tank over too.
So we also had at the same time a massive burger time world record attempt.
Right, Matt DeMoss, being aided by Austin Smith, setting up the cameras and everything, went for the burger time world record, which I believe it's 11 million, something like that. Again, been a little bit, but he spent the first 4 hours of our broadcast just screaming through burger time as fast as he possibly could until he hit level 28, and it just hit a dead standstill.
So, for those who don't know, and I learned about this because of this event, burger time at level 28, all of a sudden the enemies move 1 pixel.
Yeah, 1 pixel every 12 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, I looked it up last time. And it's 1 pixel per every 8.5, 8.7, or 12.2 seconds, right. Which makes things excruciatingly slow.
Excruciating.
Well, but the player still moves full speed.
Full speed, yeah. So the player can run around. But
initially, it was thought that level was unbeatable. They called it the kill screen. It's not technically a kill screen, because you can suffer through it, and it's a grueling adventure.
Well, yeah, I was reading just a story, and who knows if it's true, but it's one of those awesome 80s stories where someone got to that and was watching it, and they were like, yeah, man, it's over. The game just freezes right there. And he was like, oh, okay. And then they they left it on for whatever reason, came back a few minutes later, and it looked like the enemies had actually moved somewhere, and they were like, slightly, and they were like, wait, are they moving? And then eventually they were like, oh man, I wonder what would happen. And so then they spent the next hour and a half trying to beat that one level or something.
Yeah, and it takes longer than that. It's ridiculous how long it takes.
Well, and if you've played Burger Time, you know that you have to kill the enemies to progress. You have to get rid of the enemies, right?
So you have to get rid of the burger patty. So it becomes a resource management game after a while, where you must have peppers.
Right. You have to drop all the burgers to the bottom.
Right. And you need to group all the enemies together and then pepper them and then drop them to the bottom to get the maximum number of points.
Right.
Which you're farming because you're trying to get a world record. And it's just the AI goes wonky during that level. The first 90 seconds.
Right. I forgot about that.
First 90 seconds of the level, it's just blazing speed at every direction, and bang, it just stops.
Yeah, so it's just some bug because the game programmer. There's no way the programmer ever expected someone to get that far in the game.
No way.
Because these games were, you play it, you put a quarter in, 5 minutes later you're dead. If you're really, really good, you get 8 minutes out or something.
I wonder at what point they started realizing that players were doing this, because I know I talked to the creator of Hubert, and he said he had no idea that someone would even get past the 4th level. Thus he didn't make a 5th level of Hubert, and people just continued to play that 4th level until now. I think the world record requires 100 hours of consecutive play, something like that.
Then of course Gravatar has 3 hours of content, and no one ever makes it past 1 minute.
Yeah. No. I believe I had 4 players that famously could not score a single point on our Gravatar monthly competition. It was just credit in, smash into the sun. Oops.
They're like, hey guys, oh no, I'm dead. Oh guys, what is this game? Hold on. Oh no, I'm dead.
Did they even make it to the first level?
Meanwhile, some pinball games, you like plunge the ball and you've got a multi-ball and you've got 6 million points.
Right. Well, yeah, that's always, pinball is fun. Just because of that exact thing. So our target raised, which was kind of sandbagging a little bit, was 2,500 on the Extra Life official page. We said that we were going to try to hit $2,500, and we kind of knew we were going to blow past that. But I guess you never know, and so I think I was feeling a little nervous. I think the year before we had done. Do you remember what our?
I don't recall.
I think it was actually like almost 4,000 or right around 4,000.
This is my 3rd year, so uniformly I am delirious at the end of all this, and really, there's always that moment of delirium at the end, which I'll remember, but like the numbers themselves always get lost in my head.
So then, I when we recorded the podcast, I said, we're really just going for 5,000. And at the end, after you did this Tuesday night fights on Super Turbo, you then did a puzzle.
Oh, yes. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, also in the Versus City. Because that was our concept. We were swapping back and forth between the Neo Geo and the Versus City. So while one was playing, we were working on the other one, changing the game out. The last one being Super Puzzle Fighter 2, the oft-requested Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo.
Right.
And we called their bluff. Do you really want to play? How about you donate $25 and then we'll play at 3 a.m. And they're like, 3 a.m.? I don't know. No, wait. It's an hour after you think it is because daylight savings time is in the middle of this.
Right. So what would have been 4? The great thing about, we get a lot of questions like, why don't y'all ever put Super Puzzle Fighters 2 Turbo?
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
And we
don't have a marquee big enough to display the entire name.
We really love the game. That's why we call
Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo ST.
Right. We really love the game. It's just it runs monitors.
Yes.
It's very, very brutal, especially given the type of game that it is, which is a versus game. It will draw lines on monitors very fast.
Yeah,
Burn in is super fast.
You're gonna have a little line here, and you're gonna have 2 boxes right there. After 1 day of play.
And you want to play it in a candy cab. Generally, it's nice. It's fun to play in a candy cab. It's just those candy cab monitors are even more susceptible to burn than, for example, the Wells Gardners that we use they're actually made by a different company, but the Wells Gardner series monitors that you find in like Big Blues or Dynamos, they can take it a little bit better. They're still going to eventually get burned, but those Nanows that you find in those the candy cabs, you get a static image on them for a little bit, and you can even see it on like some of the Super Turbos, the Game Overs and stuff like that. It doesn't take much to burn those monitors.
Well, as a puzzle game fan myself, I have no problem playing it on a stand-up machine.
Well, and so we're just like we say a lot of things, like on the rhythm games, we're going to get it right one time. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo will be coming out eventually, but for now, we're having a lot of fun having one-off events with it.
Hey, we did this at QuakeCon also for the Extra Life charity.
So it's
also at 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it brings people out, and it at least lets people know we have it, so that no one can be like, because every once in a while the internet gets really weird, and if you haven't shown them something in like a week, they're like, this doesn't even exist, y'all are liars, and the internet, it's weird. So we had Super Puzzle Fighters 2 Turbo. We love the game. We're going to try to run more tournaments on it in the future, but right now we don't have a good permanent solution for it. Just because we love those Nanow monitors, and we can't really just lose a Nanow monitor to a puzzle fighter.
Yeah, we actually had 2 that day too.
Right.
We had it in the Blast City and the Versus City. We needed the extra playing power because that game can take a while.
So at the end of the day, though, the dust clears. Mm-hmm. You had raised $5,074.55. So $5,075 is what it rounded to. We hit the total. That's awesome. We hit the goal. We hit the revised goal higher. Mr. Brown hooked up. Not only gave us $500 for charity, but also bought everyone in the arcade, actually at one point, a coffee, which was nice of them.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for keeping us awake.
Well, most of us. At least attempting. Doing their best.
Right. So that was really cool. And I think in general, it was like a massively successful event. Everyone had a lot of fun. it's a really cool event to just build a community around and to have fun with the same group of people for 25 straight hours. And I feel like, like it's amazing what happens when you just are stuck together. You're going to be hanging out, you're going to be doing it. It makes a really, really fun environment, atmosphere. And some people, like, I don't think you expected to necessarily try to make it, went ahead and tried to make it that 25 hours. That was really cool.
I guess I want to thank the businesses that chipped in quite a bit. Carbach with the Vice City.
Carbach did the Vice City thing.
Mr. Brown put in a big chunk. Civil Poor added in a good amount as well, even though Chad, who's in the group and frequently visits, could not make it out because of, he
was working at Civil Poor.
Right. Beating Dreams did make it out there and donated a small fortune.
Yeah, that was insane.
That was
awesome.
unexpected and amazing. Insane. Thank you, Beating Dreams.
And Tristan out there somewhere still owes her I believe, being made up on camera as a panda. So we're going to have to do a make good on that. But don't worry, that'll happen. And
of course, while we're talking about this event, and we should talk that we're part of a local group that is raising money for Cook Children's, because that's kind of how Extra Life is set up. You
kind of our regional hub, I guess.
They can, and so this is for we now fundraise with Meeple Solutions, which is the Extra Life focused group. Now we used to be, what was it called before?
Heroic Inner Kids.
Kids. So Heroic Inner Kids, I think, generally does like hospital visits and costumes and stuff like that to help fundraise and to bring joy to children, to sick children. And we used to Meeple Solutions and Heroic Inner Kids used to just kind of be under the same umbrella.
Right. They split off just so that they could focus more on the Extra Life.
Right. So Meeple Solutions is the Extra Life focused part of Heroic Inner Kid, or what used to be. And so now it's Meeple Solutions. We joined with them, and they provide a lot of cool support and. I mean,
more than we could use, even.
Right. Well,
they were offering us some last minute things to silent auction off, and I was just like, well, we've definitely got 72 hours worth of programming for this 25-hour period. So I think
we'll just go double next year. We'll do 48 hours straight. We'll all be delirious, and no one will be playing games anymore.
We'll do
just static camera pointing at a wall.
We'll get like a hotel room and bring arcade games up to the hotel room, and then just lock the door and see how long it takes for everyone to kill themselves.
Well, we didn't do the community. The first year, the community did a T-shirt that they kind of not auctioned off, but they sold for charity. They gave all the proceeds to the charity. That custom FP24 shirt. This year we didn't do one. Next year there's already plans to do one. That picture you posted of Robert Ashurst passed out on a table.
Nice.
We just want to use that in silhouette form,
right,
for our FP24.
Well, when y'all get that together, hit me up. Maybe we'll talk to one of our printers and see if they want to, sponsor a little bit.
We should, at the end of the stream, we should take photos and do a remembrance of everyone who fell asleep during the 24 hours. Just play it all with,
That's a good call.
Well, that's always my hardest problem hiring photographers in general, because I always want them for something really silly like that, and I'll be like, all right,
okay,
I just want you
to be here at 8 a.m.
Right? I need a 25-hour window, and they're like, oh. And then they're like, that'll be like $30,000. I'm like, oh, I actually need it for charity.
And then on the fly, we need you to splice all of this stuff into a video that we can play during a live broadcast.
Right. But yeah, and then I'm always like, and they're like, all right, cool. Do you want like action shots or like? I'm like, no. Find the people that have fallen asleep. And make sure we have a good photo of each one of them. So that was the Extra Life Charity Challenge event. I mean, it was a huge community effort, and so I think that's what we always have to remember about these things. It's a lot of fun for us, it's a lot of fun for the community, but it takes a lot of people to make something like that happen.
Oh, it's very true.
So we definitely appreciate everyone who pitched in, people who got on the mic that maybe weren't ready to get, who were just like, I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. You just put them on the mic, eventually it all works out. It's awesome.
Right, they thought they were here to play Windjammers with us, and suddenly they're leaking over into the Super Turbo competition.
Right. And I mean, it's great. And at the end of the day, $5,000+ raised for a very, very good cause. Awesome. We need to make sure we do even more next year and figure out a way to keep bumping that number up. Because as I was talking to some of the people who work for Extra Life, the big regional whatever, they were talking about how this looks like this might be the first year Extra Life raises less money than the year before. And so I said, I'm not saying that we're going to change that next year, but I know and we raised more this year than we did last.
We're still trending upward.
We're still growing, but I want to make sure that everyone, if you're listening to this and for whatever reason didn't participate in Extra Life, you still have a couple months to get in this year. And of course, no one's going to, be disgruntled if you go in next year and do your own Extra Life thing or anything like that. Just, we need more people being active and participating in this awesome cause. And if you want to do it through free play, that's also great. But
yeah, we plan to do it next year. And I think we really hit the sweet spot of what to do as well. That first year, you asked me before I worked here to play NBA Hang Time for 25 hours.
That was like the day before the event.
Yeah. And I
hey,
did
by the way, can you play a game for 24 hours on stream for us?
Right. And I was happy to, and I did, and it was fun, and it was a great experience. And then I thought, this needs to be shared. It's actually such a good experience. So we did the ST players, all of them, flew in some.
We did a special Street Fighter event.
Right, which was great as well. But this one, I think, really hit the sweet spot of like everything that we do, everything that free play is about, all consolidated into one exhausting day.
Right. Well, and I think, yeah. And
because we have to share it with everybody.
The first year raising $1,000+ that was like, relatively easy. The exponential growth is what's going to be hard for us. So I'm going to spend some time trying to think about how we can make sure that we are, because I think the content that's being generated is really great and would be enjoyed by a ton of people. And I definitely think that live experience is probably one of the neatest of the whole year. So maybe we'll be able to figure out some way to really tap in, because if you think about it, that's like, raising $5,000 for charity is amazing, but it's just a drop in the bucket for what they need. So, I'm getting all motivated. I'm not going to make any. I'm like, I want to set up goals.
Large promises.
That's ridiculous. But no, I think next year we can beat it, and I think we're gonna figure out a way to, keep it growing.
Stay tuned later for our ridiculous new goal.
Right. So, and of course, if you happen to be a business that just somehow found, involved with a business that gets involved with these types of things, and just somehow listen to this podcast, and you want to, get involved with us next year, or we'll pretty much do anything for you if it's raising money for sick kids. So let me know what you got in mind, and we'll figure out how to make that work. So those were the Vaporwave event, the 25-hour event. Again, thanks to everyone for coming out to all of our events. That's always it's really amazing still that we do these really, like, I think are really cool, but pretty nerdy things. And people keep coming out and having a great time, dancing, drinking, having fun.
There was dancing too.
I don't know if there's a night of free play except for like maybe Monday night.
on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/freeplayarcade, I went ahead and highlighted the entire 24-hour event. So with the exception of certain portions that were audio muted by Twitch.
Thanks, Vice City.
You can see the whole thing, including dancing in the background, and probably the 17 to 20 hour.
Right.
Or there's just people randomly dancing back there.
So yeah, so we will keep on keeping on. We'll keep on throwing awesome events. We've got a couple coming up. We've got Last Christmas. We've got the third, the mini third year for Richardson, which, depending on when this podcast goes up, it might have already happened. But we've got live music at each one of those, which,
I like the Last Christmas title in its entirety. I keep telling it to myself.
Last Christmas 2, Christmas Hard or something.
Yes.
So yeah, and it's... We've previously talked about what didn't work in that first Last Christmas event. So if
taglines,
if you went last year and you're expecting a bunch of snow and ice skating, which I'm sure you're not expecting ice skating because that was terrible.
Yeah.
But we were changing it up. We're bringing a little bit more inside. That way we're not as dependent on the weather.
Wait, snow inside?
No.
Okay.
No snow.
You're going crazy, Chris.
No snow this year.
Lower the expectations.
But yeah, so we're going to bring everything that really, really worked, that we got a ton of great feedback for. Now, I thought the snow was really cool, but the snow was really complicated. And without some other outdoor activities and figuring it all out, we can't really do it. And so we wanted to make sure we still did something absurd. So we've still got, breakdancing Santa. Then this year it's a dance battle. We're going to have 4 different breakdancing Santas with the crowd deciding who's the best breakdancing Santa.
I vote Santa.
Right. We've got Calling Jack Burton coming this year, which that's just always really cool. They're all, I wish they were our house band, but
they live a bit far
away, right? So we have to keep bringing them up here as much as we can.
Have to settle for a DJ.
I'm sure we'll find that 14-foot tree and get that up somewhere again.
Yeah, and we'll have a huge tall Christmas tree inside this time. I think it'll fit on one of the rooms.
Also inside Snow Bros.
We will have Snow Bros. We've got a bunch of cool games. We're going to have a Clay Fighter tournament on Genesis where everyone has to play as, was it Bad Snowman? Whatever it was.
Yeah.
There's an evil snowman character, so you're just your character locked on that the whole game. So, lots of really fun stuff. Hot Chocolate, Wheel of Prizes coming back. Last year was awesome, but this year I think could be like... focusing our energies on exactly what really, really worked is going to make the event better, I think. So that's all coming up. And then, of course, we have New Year's, which we haven't even announced. So still go try to buy New Year's tickets if you're listening to this, because I don't know when it'll go live. But yeah, so that's pretty much where we're going. I think we wrapped up those events really well. Anything else to add, Chris?
I have to thank my sponsor.
Thanks again.
Just water. That is not just coffee that I've been drinking throughout this episode.
Well,
because it's just water.
Jaden Smith has all sorts of flavors now, so maybe it's coffee flavored just water.
Infused water.
That's the color you want. That's the color you want your just water to look.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So thanks again. This has been the Free Play Arcade podcast. Subscribe if you have a subscribe button. And in the meantime, we'll be back really soon.
Bye. Catch y'all later.